It's interesting how my celebration of Father's Day, of my husband in general, has changed over the years. Early in my marriage, I was quick to pull out my credit card to buy that perfect gift and clear my afternoon to cook that special meal or bake an elegant cake, which, once completed, never even remotely resembled the picture in my recipe book. And while there's nothing wrong with putting such time and effort into those momentary celebrations, the other 364 days, I neglected what mattered most. Hi, I'm Jennifer Slattery from iBelieve, and I recently reflected on this as I prayerfully wrote an article discussing gifts I believe every dad would love this Father's Day. I reflected on where God has taken my marriage, our family, and all He's done to bring us where we're at now. God has completely changed our marriage, and God reminded me of some of the most precious gifts I can give my husband this Father's Day. Respect, encouragement, support, prayer, and an ongoing commitment to relational health. Years ago, during a particularly tough time in my marriage, an author's statement in a book really struck me. She addressed a question she presumed her readers to be asking, which was, why should I be the first to change? The author's reply, if not you, then who? I needed to read that. Our marriage was once such a mess, so much so that it's a miracle we're still together and that we even like each other some 25 years later. In fact, we argued and hurt one another straight into a divorce lawyer's office, sitting there in that cold, fancy room, listening to a man in a suit and tie talk to us about child payments and custody matters. All I could think was, how did we get here? Our situation seemed hopeless, like it was too late to undo all the damage we'd inflicted. And that afternoon, once home, I packed my things into 2 suitcases and I lined them by the door. I figured my daughter and I would stay at a hotel until I figured out something more permanent. I felt sick, empty, numb, too numb to cry or to speak. Standing there, my heart cried out, tell me to stay. But my pride, because of my pride, I stayed silent. So I just stood there, staring at my husband, and he stood there staring back at me. And I picked up our daughter to carry her to the car, but as I stepped forward, she reached for my husband and said, Daddy. God spoke through her that day, through that one simple yet powerful word, Daddy. And I knew I couldn't rob our daughter of her father. We needed to figure out how to make this marriage thing work. And so I looked at him, tears pricking my eyes, and I said, I don't want to go. He gave a nod, said okay, then walked away, likely to process all that had happened. That day began a long, hard climb to relational health, to emotional intimacy, to years of hard conversations and counseling appointments, of learning how to love one another well and unlearning behaviors that caused each other pain. 25 years later, I've come to realize that's perhaps the best gift I can give my husband, that I can give myself, that I can give my daughter, relational health. To have the courage to tackle tough issues and to fight with one another instead of against one another.